The massive warship called Eternal Dominion came out of hyperspace above Earth on a quiet Tuesday morning. Commander stood on the observation deck and looked down at the blue and green planet below. He had 4 eyes, gray skin, and a body that looked like a tall insect standing upright. His species, had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had conquered 3,000 different species across 1,000,000 star systems. This little world would be just another easy victory. "Open communications," ordered his crew. "Send the standard conquest message to all frequencies." The message went out across every radio wave, every television signal, and every internet connection on Earth. Within minutes, every human being on the planet knew that aliens existed, and those aliens were not friendly. The message was simple and direct. It said that the hegemony claimed Earth as its property. All humans were now subjects of the Empire. They had 47 hours to surrender completely. If they refused, the hegemony would destroy their cities one by one until they agreed. The message also included a complete list of all hegemony weapons, ships, and military technology. This was tradition. They always showed conquered species exactly how powerful they were. It made surrender happen faster. In Washington, D.C., the president called an emergency meeting. Leaders from every major country joined through video screens. Military commanders, scientists, and diplomats all gathered to discuss what to do. Captain Lisa Monroe from the Space Command was there. She was 38 years old with short brown hair and calm gray eyes. She had spent her whole career preparing for threats from space, even though most people thought she was crazy for believing aliens might exist. Dr. Park sat next to her. He was a language expert from MIT who had spent 20 years studying how to communicate with non-human intelligence. He never thought he would actually use those skills. Commander Wright completed their team. She was a tall woman with dark skin and a reputation for staying cool under pressure. She led the Earth Defense Initiative, a secret program that most governments pretended did not exist. Finished translating the alien message and read it aloud to the room. Everyone listened in silence. The aliens had ships that could crack planets in half. They had armies numbering in the trillions. They had weapons that could turn entire continents to glass. By any reasonable measurement, Earth had no chance. When finished reading, there was a long pause. Then someone in the back of the room started laughing. It was a young technician named Danny Price. He was 25 years old and had been working on analyzing the alien transmission. Now he was laughing so hard that tears ran down his face. People stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Sorry," Danny said, trying to control himself. "Sorry, it's just, did anyone actually look at what they sent us?" Lisa frowned. "What do you mean?" Danny walked to the front of the room and pulled up his laptop on the main screen. "They sent us everything, and I mean everything. Complete blueprints for their weapons, shield frequencies, engine designs, power source specifications, the locations of their fleet, their communication codes. It's all here." The room went quiet again, but this time it was a different kind of quiet. Started laughing next. Then the Secretary of Defense. Within minutes, the entire room was filled with laughter. The most powerful empire in the galaxy had just handed humanity the keys to defeating them. They've never had anyone fight back, Lisa realized. They've been doing this for so long that they forgot what it's like to face an enemy who doesn't just give up. The president leaned forward in his chair. How long would it take our engineers to find weaknesses in their systems? A general from the Pentagon checked with his team. With complete blueprints, maybe a few hours for the obvious stuff, a day or two for the rest. "We have 47 hours, the president said. "Let's use them." What happened next was the greatest example of human cooperation in history. Every country on Earth shared their best scientists and engineers. Old enemies worked together. Secrets that governments had kept for decades were revealed. All of it focused on one goal: finding ways to beat the alien technology. Within 6 hours, a team in Japan discovered that the shields had a specific frequency weakness. A group in Germany figured out how to jam their communications. American and Chinese engineers worked together to modify existing missiles to penetrate alien armor. Russian scientists found a flaw in the hegemony's faster-than-light drives that could be exploited. But the biggest discovery came from a small lab in Norway. Dr. Helena Strand and her team had been working on experimental energy weapons for years. When they saw the alien power systems, they realized something amazing. Human technology, in some areas, was actually more advanced. The aliens had stopped innovating thousands of years ago. They had never needed to improve because no one ever challenged them. Lisa Monroe watched the reports coming in from around the world and felt something she had not expected to feel. Hope. Real, genuine hope. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, Commander waited for the surrender message that always came. Every species surrendered. It was simply logical. Fighting the hegemony meant death. Surrender meant survival as slaves, but survival nonetheless. "Commander," one of his officers said, "we are receiving a response from the planet." Finally said, "Put it on screen." Lisa Monroe's face appeared on the viewing screen. She was smiling, not the desperate smile of someone about to surrender, a confident smile, an amused smile. "This is Captain Lisa Monroe representing the United Earth Defense Council," she said. "We have reviewed your demands and found them very funny. We decline your generous offer of slavery. Instead, we would like to offer you a chance to leave our solar system peacefully. You have 24 hours to withdraw your vessel. After that, we cannot guarantee your safety." Stared at the screen. In 3,000 conquests, no species had ever responded like this. His translator must be broken. That was the only explanation. "You threaten us?" he asked. "You have no space fleet. You have no weapons capable of reaching us. You are primitives with nuclear toys." Lisa's smile grew wider. "That's what we want you to think. 24 hours, Commander. I suggest you use them wisely." The transmission ended, stood in stunned silence. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. None of them knew what to say. This had never happened before. "They are bluffing," decided. "They must be. No primitive species could possibly threaten a hegemony warship." But deep in his chest, in the place where his species felt fear, something cold began to grow. The humans were not acting like prey. They were acting like predators, and predators did not bluff. On Earth, Lisa ended the transmission and turned to her team. "All right," she said. "We have 24 hours to build weapons that can take down a starship. Any ideas?" Grinned, "Actually, I have about 50. Where do you want to start?" Humanity had always been good at one thing above all else: fighting. They had spent their entire history finding new ways to hurt each other. Now, for the first time, they had a common enemy, and that enemy had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had given humans a reason to work together. The shuttle carrying the human delegation rose through Earth's atmosphere and headed toward the massive alien warship. Lisa Monroe sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls. Park sat beside her, reviewing notes on his tablet. Wright sat in the back, checking her equipment one more time. They had spent the last 20 hours preparing for this meeting. Engineers around the world had worked without sleep to create surprises for the aliens. Now it was time to see if their work would pay off. "Approaching the Eternal Dominion," Lisa said. "They're opening a docking bay for us." Looked up at the alien ship through the window. It was enormous, nearly 3 miles long, covered in weapons and armor. It looked like something designed to frighten primitive species into surrender. He supposed it worked most of the time. "Remember the plan," said. "We're here to buy time and gather information. Don't start a fight unless we have to." "And if they start one?" Lisa asked. Smiled, "Then we finish it." The shuttle landed in the docking bay and the 3 humans stepped out. A group of soldiers waited for them, tall, insect-like beings carrying weapons that glowed with energy. Commander stood at the front, his four eyes studying the humans with obvious contempt. "You are either very brave or very stupid," said through his translator device. "No conquered species has ever demanded a meeting before surrender." Lisa walked toward him without showing any fear. "We're not conquered yet, Commander, and we're not planning to be." She looked around the docking bay as she walked, taking mental notes on everything she saw. The layout of the ship, the positions of the guards, the types of weapons they carried. All of this information was being recorded by tiny cameras hidden in her uniform and sent back to Earth. "Follow me," ordered. "The High Commander wishes to see these strange creatures who do not know when they are beaten." They walked through long corridors filled with alien technology, noticed that much of it looked old and poorly maintained. Some panels flickered, some doors moved slowly. The hegemony had not needed to keep their ships in perfect condition for a very long time. Why bother when no one ever fought back? The bridge of the Eternal Dominion was a large circular room with viewing screens covering every wall. In the center sat the High Commander, an older named. He was bigger than the others, with scars across his face that suggested he had actually seen combat at some point in his long life. "So these are the humans," said slowly. "The species that laughed at our conquest declaration. Tell me, small creatures, what could possibly make you think you can resist the hegemony?" Lisa stepped forward. "Permission to show you something, High Commander." Waved one of his four arms. "Amuse me." Lisa pulled out a small device from her pocket. The guards raised their weapons immediately, but she held up her other hand in a peaceful gesture. "Relax, it's just a projector." She activated the device, and a holographic image appeared in the air. It showed Earth's solar system, with small dots representing orbital platforms around Earth and the Moon. 20 years ago," Lisa began, "some people on Earth started to wonder if we were alone in the universe. They decided it would be smart to prepare for the possibility that we weren't, just in case the visitors weren't friendly." Leaned forward slightly. The hologram showed the orbital platforms in more detail. They were weapons platforms, each one bristling with missiles and energy weapons. "We call them the Guardian Network," Lisa continued. "Officially, they don't exist. Unofficially, there are over 200 of them in orbit around Earth and the Moon. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a small fleet." Watched the officers react to this information. They were trying to hide their surprise, but he could see it in the way their eyes moved and their bodies shifted. "You expect us to believe this," said. "Our sensors detected nothing when we arrived." Spoke for the first time. "Your sensors are 2,000 years out of date. We've been watching your ship since you entered our solar system. You never saw us because we didn't want you to see us." She pulled out her own device and added to the hologram. Now it showed detailed scans of the Eternal Dominion, including internal layouts, power readings, and crew positions. "We know where your reactors are," said calmly. "We know where your shield generators are located. We know that your weapons need 30 seconds to charge between shots. We know that your armor is weakest at these 12 points." Red dots appeared on the hologram, marking the vulnerable spots on the alien ship. Stood up from his chair. For the first time, the human saw something in his eyes that looked like respect, or maybe fear. It was hard to tell with alien expressions. "You have been busy," he admitted, "but knowledge of our weaknesses means nothing if you lack the power to exploit them." Lisa smiled. "That's the thing, High Commander. We don't lack the power. We just wanted to give you a chance to leave peacefully. Earth doesn't want a war, but if you force one on us, we will finish it." "You speak with great confidence for a species that has never traveled beyond its own moon," said. "We've never needed to," replied. "We had plenty of enemies right here at home. We spent thousands of years learning how to fight each other, how to adapt, how to turn weakness into strength. Your species conquered the galaxy because no one ever pushed back. Ours survived because we never stopped pushing." The room fell silent. The officers looked at each other nervously. This was not how these meetings usually went. Conquered species begged for mercy. They offered tribute. They surrendered their resources and their freedom in exchange for survival. These humans were negotiating from a position of strength. Impossible as it seemed, they actually believed they could win. Sat back down heavily. He was very old by standards, nearly 800 years. He had seen many species surrender. He had watched civilizations crumble rather than face the hegemony's power. But he had never seen anything like this. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "Simple," Lisa said. "Take your ship and go home. Tell your empire that Earth is not worth the trouble. Find easier targets somewhere else. Do this and we part as neutral parties, maybe even future trading partners." "And if we refuse?" Lisa's expression hardened. "Then you become an example, a very loud, very visible example of what happens when someone threatens Earth. Your ship will be destroyed. Your crew will be killed. And every species in the galaxy will know that humanity is not to be touched." She took a step closer to the High Commander. "We don't want to kill you, we're not monsters, but we will protect our home, we will protect our families, and we will never ever surrender to anyone. That's not a threat, it's just who we are." The meeting ended without agreement. The humans returned to their shuttle and flew back to Earth. Behind them, the Eternal Dominion remained in orbit, its commander trying to decide what to do next. On the shuttle let out a long breath. "That was intense. Do you think they believed us?" Lisa looked back at the alien ship through the window. "I don't know. But if they didn't, they're about to learn the hard way that humans always mean what they say." Checked her tablet. The orbital platforms are powered up and ready. Ground-based missiles are locked on target. The whole world is watching and waiting. "Then let's hope they make the smart choice," Lisa said. "Because if they don't, this is going to get very ugly very fast." She guided the shuttle back toward Earth, back toward home. Behind her, the largest warship in the fleet hung in space like a monument to 10,000 years of easy victories. Those easy victories were about to end. The news of what happened at Earth spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within days, every species in the hegemony had heard the story. A primitive planet had refused to surrender. They had threatened a warship. And most shocking of all, the High Commander had withdrawn without firing a single shot. The Galactic Council demanded answers. This was the governing body of the hegemony, made up of representatives from hundreds of conquered species. They met on a station at the center of the galaxy, a massive structure that had been built over thousands of years. High Arbiter Hose called an emergency meeting to discuss the human situation. The council chamber was a vast circular room that could hold 10,000 beings. Today it was nearly full. Representatives from 300 different species filled the seats, all of them curious about these strange new creatures from a backwater world. Lisa Monroe had been invited to address the council. She traveled for 2 weeks through hyperspace to reach the station, accompanied by Anne. When she finally stood at the central podium, looking up at thousands of alien faces, she felt surprisingly calm. "Thank you for inviting me to speak," she began. Her voice was translated instantly into hundreds of languages through the station systems. "I understand there has been some confusion about recent events. I'm here to clear things up." A representative rose from his seat. His name was Al, and he was one of the most powerful politicians in the hegemony. "You dare to stand in this sacred place after humiliating our fleet. You should be in chains, not speaking as an equal." Lisa waited for him to finish. Then she smiled. "That right there is your problem," she said. "You've spent so long thinking of other species as beneath you that you forgot how to recognize a threat. They have been the masters of this galaxy for 10,000 years. In that time, you stopped learning. You stopped growing. You stopped evolving." She activated a holographic display that appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a timeline of human history, from the first stone tools to the present day. Humans have existed as a species for about 300,000 years. In that time, we went from hitting each other with rocks to splitting atoms. We went from caves to cities to space stations. Every generation, we invent new things. Every century, we transform our entire civilization. The hologram showed images of human achievements: the pyramids, the Great Wall, sailing ships and steam engines, airplanes and rockets, nuclear power and computers. But here's the really important part, Lisa continued. We did all of this while constantly fighting each other. War is terrible. We know that better than anyone, but it also forces us to adapt, to innovate, to find new ways to survive when someone is trying to kill us. She pulled up a comparison chart showing technology from 10,000 years ago next to their current technology. The differences were minimal. Your weapons are basically the same as they were when you started conquering the galaxy. Your ships use the same designs. Your tactics haven't changed. Why would they? You've never faced a real challenge. Every species you encountered either surrendered or died. Neither option required you to improve. Stepped forward to join Lisa at the podium. He had spent the journey to the station studying the history of the hegemony, and what he found was fascinating. They weren't always conquerors, he said. 3,000 generations ago, you were explorers, scientists, artists. You created beautiful things and shared them with species you met. But somewhere along the way, you forgot how to be anything except warriors, and your warriors forgot how to actually fight. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. Delegates stood and yelled. Other species tried to quiet them. The chaos lasted for several minutes before the High Arbiter restored order. You speak dangerous words, human, Ho said. The hegemony has stood for 10,000 years. It will stand for 10,000 more. Your small world cannot change that. Stepped forward now. Maybe, maybe not, but consider this. We've had your technology for 2 months. In that time, our scientists have already improved on it. Your faster-than-light drives take ships across the galaxy in months. Ours will do it in weeks. Your weapons can crack planets. Ours can do it more efficiently with half the energy. She displayed new schematics, human improvements on hegemony technology. The alien delegates leaned forward to study them. Many of them were scientists and engineers themselves, conquered peoples forced to serve the. They could see that the human designs were genuinely superior. How is this possible? One delegate asked. He was a small blue creature from a species called the. You have had space flight for less than a century. We have served the hegemony for 3,000 years and never achieved such advances. Lisa answered him, because you were never allowed to try. The hegemony doesn't want conquered species to innovate. They want obedience. They want stability. They want things to stay exactly the same forever. But humans don't work that way. We can't stay the same. We have to grow. We have to change. We have to push boundaries and break rules and try impossible things. She looked around the vast chamber at all the different species watching her. Most of them had been slaves of the hegemony for generations. They had forgotten what it meant to be free, to dream, to hope. We're not here to declare war on the hegemony, Lisa said. We're here to offer a different path. Humanity wants to trade. We want to learn from you and teach you in return. We want to explore the galaxy together, not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals. Al laughed. Equals. You are one small planet. The hegemony controls 1,000,000 worlds. You cannot possibly consider yourself our equal. You're right, Lisa admitted. Right now, we're not your equal. We're something much more dangerous. We're your future. She let that statement hang in the air for a moment. The galaxy is vast. There are countless species out there who haven't been discovered yet. Some of them might be like us. Aggressive, adaptable, impossible to conquer. What happens when the hegemony meets them? What happens when your 10,000 years of easy victories suddenly end? Lisa turned to address all the delegates, not just the. Humanity can be your ally or your enemy. We would prefer to be allies. We would prefer to help you grow stronger, smarter, better prepared for whatever challenges the future holds. But if you insist on treating us as prey, you will discover something important about humans." She paused and let her eyes sweep across the chamber. Prey animals are the most dangerous creatures in any ecosystem. They're the ones who evolve to fight against overwhelming odds. They're the ones who learn to use every advantage, every trick, every desperate strategy to survive. Predators only need to succeed sometimes. Prey must succeed every single time. Lisa gathered her notes and prepared to leave the podium. Humanity survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and our own worst impulses. We clawed our way up from nothing to become the dominant species on our planet. And now we're going to do the same thing on a galactic scale. The only question is whether you want to be part of that journey or standing in our way. She walked back to her seat as the chamber exploded into debate. Some delegates were angry, some were frightened, and some, for the first time in generations, were hopeful. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, but every empire eventually falls. Every dynasty eventually ends. The only question is what comes next. Humanity had just announced their intention to help answer that question. The High Command did not appreciate being embarrassed. Within a month of Lisa's speech to the Galactic Council, they had assembled the largest fleet in recorded history. 50,000 warships gathered at the edge of human space. Troop transports carried 300 million soldiers. Planet-cracking weapons were loaded and ready. Fleet Admiral or commanded the armada from his flagship, the Devastator. He was young for an admiral, only 400 years old, and he had something to prove. His family name had been disgraced when his cousin, Commander, retreated from Earth without fighting, or intended to restore his family's honor by crushing the humans completely. "Status report," he demanded as his fleet prepared to jump to Earth. "All ships ready, Admiral," his tactical officer reported. "Weapons charged, troops prepared. We will arrive in Earth space in approximately 6 hours." "Excellent," or settled back in his command chair. "These humans have caused enough trouble. Today we remind the galaxy why the hegemony rules supreme." 6 hours later, the fleet emerged from hyperspace near Earth, or looked at and frowned. The planet was there, blue and green and beautiful, but something was wrong. "Where are their defenses?" he asked. "Where are the orbital platforms they bragged about?" His sensors officer checked her screens multiple times. "I'm not detecting anything, Admiral, just the planet and its moon. No weapons platforms, no ships, nothing." Or smiled. "They were bluffing, just as I suspected. All ships move into attack formation. We will begin with the major cities and work our way down until they surrender." The massive fleet began to move forward, spreading out into a pattern designed to maximize destruction. 50,000 ships aimed their weapons at the helpless planet below. And then everything went wrong. Admiral Collins sat in the command chair of the Defiance, hidden behind a field that bent light and sensor waves around his ship like water flowing around a stone. 10,000 human vessels surrounded him, all of them invisible, all of them positioned throughout the hegemony formation before they even arrived. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Maria Santos said from her tactical station. "The welcome party is in position." Nodded slowly. He was 42 years old and had spent his entire military career preparing for a moment like this. He had trained pilots and captains. He had developed tactics for fighting enemies with superior technology. He had never expected to actually use any of it. "Open a channel to the hegemony fleet," he ordered. A moment later, his voice echoed across every bridge in the system. "This is Admiral Collins of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have entered human space without permission. I'm going to give you one chance to turn around and go home. Take it." Or stared at his in disbelief. The voice was coming from everywhere at once, but his sensors still showed nothing except empty space. "Where are you?" he demanded. "Show yourself, human coward." Side, have it your way. All ships drop stealth and weapons free. 10,000 human vessels appeared out of nothing. They were scattered throughout the hegemony formation like seeds in a field. Some were behind ships, some were beside them, some were directly underneath their hulls, close enough to touch. Or had exactly 2 seconds to understand how badly he had miscalculated. Then the humans opened fire. The battle was not really a battle. It was closer to a slaughter. Human weapons, designed by people who had spent centuries perfecting the art of destruction, cut through shields like they were made of paper. Ships exploded by the hundreds. The hegemony fleet, which had never faced a real enemy in living memory, panicked completely. Some ships tried to run. Human vessels pursued them, picking them off one by one. Some ships tried to fight back. Their weapons either missed completely or bounced harmlessly off human shields. Some ships simply surrendered, their crews preferring captivity to death. In 4 minutes and 37 seconds, it was over. Collins looked at the wreckage floating through space and felt sick to his stomach. He had not wanted this. No sane person wanted this, but they had given humanity no choice. "Damage report," he said quietly. Maria checked her screens. "We lost 12 ships, sir. 218 casualties. The hegemony fleet has been reduced to approximately 3,000 vessels, most of them damaged. The rest are debris." 3,000 ships from 50,000. Closed his eyes for a moment. So many dead. So many lives ended in less than 5 minutes. "Open a channel to the surviving ships," he ordered. His face appeared on every. The alien officers who saw it would later describe his expression as something between sadness and cold determination. "This did not have to happen," said. "We offered peace. We offered to let you leave. You chose war instead. Now you see what war with humanity looks like." He paused to let his words sink in. "I'm going to let your remaining ships go home. I want you to tell everyone what happened here. I want every species in the galaxy to understand that Earth will not be conquered. We will not surrender. We will not bow to anyone who tries to take our freedom by force." The surviving ships began to limp away, their engines barely functioning, their crews in shock. They had come to crush a primitive planet. Instead, they had witnessed the end of 10,000 years of hegemony dominance. Back on Earth, Lisa Monroe watched the battle unfold from the command center. She had hoped it would not come to this. She had genuinely wanted to find a peaceful solution. But the had refused every offer, rejected every compromise. In the end, violence was the only language they understood. Sat beside her, his face pale. "I knew we were prepared, but seeing it actually happen." "I know," Lisa said. "This is the part they don't tell you about in the history books. The moment when all your planning and preparation turns into real death, real destruction, real consequences." Joined them, her expression grim. "The Council is asking for your response. What do we tell them?" Lisa thought for a long moment. The galaxy was watching. Every species, every planet, every leader was waiting to see what humanity would do next. They could demand the dissolution of the hegemony. They could claim territory for themselves. They could become the new conquerors, replacing one empire with another. "Tell them that humanity has no interest in ruling the galaxy," Lisa finally said. "We defended ourselves today, nothing more. We want peace. We want trade. We want cooperation. But we will never accept subjugation, and we will always defend our right to exist." She stood up and faced the camera that would broadcast her message across the stars. "To the people of the galaxy, I say this. Humanity comes in peace. We want to be your friends, your partners, your allies, but we will never be your slaves. Any species that respects our freedom will find us to be loyal and generous friends. Any species that threatens our home will find us to be the most dangerous enemies imaginable." She took a deep breath. "Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched in silence. Some felt fear, some felt hope, some felt both. The universe had changed forever. A small blue planet on the edge of nowhere had announced itself to the cosmos in the loudest possible way. And humanity was just getting started. 5 years passed since the battle that changed everything. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been when the first arrived at Earth. The hegemony had collapsed, not from human conquest, but from internal rebellion. Species that had been slaves for thousands of years suddenly realized that their masters were not invincible. They remembered what freedom meant. They started demanding it back. Humanity helped where they could. They shared technology freely with any species that asked. They sent teachers and engineers to worlds that had forgotten how to innovate. They built trade networks that benefited everyone instead of just the powerful few. Ambassador Lane sat in her office on Terran Station, looking out at the stars beyond her window. The station orbited near the old Galactic Council headquarters, a symbol of the new order that was slowly taking shape. She was 53 years old now, with gray hair and tired eyes, but she would not trade her job for anything. Her assistant, Christopher Bell, walked in with a tablet full of messages. He was young and enthusiastic, the kind of person who still believed that the galaxy could become a better place. "Morning, Ambassador," he said. "We have the usual pile of requests. The delegation wants to discuss expanding the agricultural exchange program. They are asking for help building their first deep space vessels, and the remnant is requesting military advisors again." Raised an eyebrow. "The want our help, I thought they still hated us." "Most of them do," Chris admitted. "But their new leadership is more practical. They know they need to rebuild their military from scratch, and they'd rather learn from us than from their old enemies who are now free and very angry." Nodded slowly. The fall of the hegemony had not been gentle. Many species had spent generations suffering under rule. Now that they were free, some of them wanted revenge. The galaxy was in danger of falling into chaos as old grudges turned into new wars. "Tell them we'll send advisors," she decided. "But make it clear that we're teaching them defense, not conquest. If they want to rebuild their empire, they can find someone else to help." Chris made a note on his tablet. "There's one more thing. The Galactic Assembly is voting tomorrow on whether to officially recognize the Human Alliance as a permanent member. It looks like it's going to pass." Smiled slightly. 5 years ago, humanity had been a single planet that most of the galaxy had never heard of. Now they were about to become one of the major powers in the universe. It was a remarkable transformation. "Good," she said. "Anything else?" Chris hesitated. "There's a personal message from Admiral Collins. He says it's not urgent, but he wanted you to know that the new exploration fleet is ready to launch. They're heading out to the far edge of the galaxy, looking for species the hegemony never found." Smile grew wider. This was what she loved most about her job. Humanity was not content to simply take the hegemony's place. They wanted to explore, to discover, to meet new civilizations and learn new things. It was the best of what humans could be. "Tell I wish him good luck," she said. "And tell him to be careful out there. We don't know what else might be waiting in the dark." The next day, stood before the Galactic Assembly to give her acceptance speech. The vast chamber was filled with representatives from over 500 species now, many of them newly free, all of them watching the human ambassador with a mixture of curiosity and respect. "Honored delegates," began, "5 years ago humanity faced a choice. We could surrender to the hegemony and accept slavery, or we could fight back and risk destruction. We chose to fight, not because we wanted war, but because we believed that freedom was worth any price." She looked around the chamber at all the different faces, the different species, the different cultures all gathered together. "Many of you faced that same choice generations ago. You were conquered because you had no allies, no support, no one to stand beside you when the came. Today, I want to make a promise on behalf of humanity. No species will ever face that choice alone again." The chamber was silent, continued. "The human alliance is not here to conquer. We're not here to rule. We're here to help build something new. A galaxy where every species has the right to grow and change and become whatever they choose to be. A galaxy where strength is used to protect, not to dominate. A galaxy where different is not dangerous, just different." She paused and let her eyes sweep across the assembled delegates. "We have a long way to go. There are still conflicts to resolve, grudges to heal, problems that will take generations to fix. But I believe we can do it. I believe we must do it. Because the alternative is to repeat the mistakes of the past, and I don't think any of us want that." Stepped back from the podium as applause filled the chamber. It was not unanimous. Some species still distrusted humans. Some still wanted revenge against their former masters. Some just wanted to be left alone to rebuild their worlds in peace. But enough of them believed in what humanity was trying to create. Later that evening, stood alone on an observation deck, watching ships from dozens of different species pass by the station. Human vessels flew alongside traders and explorers. A diplomatic ship was docked at a nearby platform, its crew nervously hoping they would not be attacked. Park joined her at the window. He had become one of the leading experts on communication over the past 5 years. His translation programs were used across the galaxy now. "Big day," he said. "Yes," agreed, "but it's just the beginning. The real work starts now." Nodded. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if they had never found us? If we had just been left alone on Earth?" Thought about it. Sometimes. We might have destroyed ourselves eventually. We were pretty good at that. But finding out we weren't alone, that there were threats out there bigger than any of our petty conflicts, it changed us. It gave us a reason to be better. She turned away from the window. "You know what the funniest part is? The thought they were conquering a primitive backwater planet. They had no idea they were giving humanity exactly what we needed to finally grow up." Laughed. "The universe has a strange sense of humor." "It does," agreed. "It really does." Far away on the edge of the galaxy, Admiral Collins guided his exploration fleet into unknown space. They were looking for new worlds, new civilizations, new possibilities. Behind them, the familiar stars of known space grew smaller and smaller. Admiral Maria Santos said from her station, "Long-range sensors are picking up something unusual. It might be artificial, looks like. A signal." Leaned forward in his chair. Out here in the unexplored darkness, anything was possible. New friends, new enemies, new mysteries to solve. "Set a course," he ordered. "Let's go say hello." The fleet adjusted heading and flew deeper into the unknown. Humanity had spent thousands of years looking up at the stars and wondering what was out there. Now they were finally finding out. And whatever they found, they would face it the same way they had faced everything else. Together, determined and ready for anything. The galaxy had tried to conquer humanity. Instead, humanity had shown the galaxy what it meant to be truly free. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, new adventures were waiting. All they had to do was reach for them.